Hello my lovely NAS maniacs, welcome to the Asylum, and this is gonna be the intro until I figure out something else. Today I wanted to talk about technology. I was supposed to be wearing my glasses. What's going on? Yeah, it's like you guys are like, it couldn't get any better, and then it did. I know, I thought the same thing. It's crazy, it's crazy. Anyways, I watched a video by booktuber Ariel Bissett, and she spoke about the absence of technology in books. The genres that she tends to read is YA or contemporary fiction or adult fiction, alright? So when she said books, that's what she was mainly referring to, and that's what I'm talking about. And it's something that I've noticed, and she addressed the point that apparently the publishing industry feels like technology dates a book. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with dating the book? When you read a book from a certain time period, you generally know, because now we live in a time where the blurb tells you more or less when it's taken place. If you go online, if you go into your Goodreads or wherever, you check when that book was published. So you already know when a book came out. So I don't get the issue with dating it. I probably have to read the articles that she had linked down below, but I'm not sure I'm going to be able to be convinced. It definitely needs to be more. There definitely needs to be an increase in books that actually have technology, books that feel modern. And for me, it's not so much that I want it to look exactly like how it's happening in 2017 or maybe in the past like 5 years. You know, I don't need the LOLs per se. I feel like if you can write really well and put it in, absolutely. And it all comes down to craft. And so for me, that's my issue. When the characters, especially when they're younger, but whether they're younger or they're in certain professions or they're living certain lifestyles, when I see them not using technology in a way that I know any person in their position would, it lends itself to me thinking that the author is scared and or lazy. Because often what it is a crutch. It is something that the lack of them being able to talk to each other, it enables the plot to move along. Which, okay, cool, that can happen sometimes, but I think the genre as a whole has become lazy, and it's not gonna wake up. It's gonna be complacent. And I'm gonna, don't get me wrong, I'm just off the top of my head, I know I should have made a list, and I feel like I made a list but I left it somewhere. But off the top of my head, I'm going to try and come up with 5 books that I see or that I've read that I noted even the use of technology and I didn't mind it. Absolutely, not even just I didn't mind, it added to the book. And I think writers on a whole need to challenge themselves to be able to do that. And the thing about it is, look, even with technology, there's conflicts, there is miscommunication that happens, there are crises, you know, your battery may die. Marky, that's another thing that they do. The character, like she had mentioned, like their battery all of a sudden has to be dead, or they're using like an outdated phone or whatever because it's quirky. Now, alright, if you have a character that's a hipster or that is their personality and it reads genuine, fine, but that shouldn't be something that you have to write because you cannot do better. So going back to what I said before about the conflicts that also exist even when technology is present, Mercury is about to go into retrograde, okay? And so right now we're in the shadow phase, which means that we can start feeling some of the effects. So there are a lot of different things that you look out for when Mercury is in retrograde. For me, the biggest one is when my gadgets and when my tech go haywire. Few things infuriate me as much as my gadgets and tech stuff not working the way they should. It's something where it's not a human being. Yes, it was made by humans, and I guess that is the point that I go, okay, it's not perfect, but it's not a human being. And so for me, it's literally like you had one job, do your job. You're supposed to work like this, so when it doesn't, I lose it. So I'm not making any kind of excuse. It's not something I'm happy about. I'm working on it, but until it no longer exists, I just acknowledge it as something that I need to watch out for. So what I do is I know that maybe I'll have to spend less time with my gadgets, less time on the internet, more time doing things that are not requiring me to interact with technology in that way. For me, it also means being more intentional about being patient and, you know, giving a heads up to the people in my life. You know, it means telling the people in my life that, okay, it's about to be possibly a trying time for me, you know, so they can maybe have some hugs, some kisses, some cookies ready for me or whatever. Or you know, I'm just telling them to explain, not to excuse, but to explain. So that's the thing that you can do. You can have technology and show the downsides of it, fine. But I also don't want that to become the crutch 2.0, like the updated one. So everybody now, yes, they put cell phones, they put whatever, but then all of a sudden there are all these issues with it. It's time to step your craft up. You have to step your game up when it comes to writing. And I think this is where a newer crop of writers, and newer doesn't necessarily mean younger, I just mean a newer crop of writers willing to take risks and write what's different. The issue is that with writing, there's a whole gatekeeping process that happens. So I'm sure the stories are out there. It's just for those who are vetting these stories and accepting them and publishing them, for them to get on board. So I'm not necessarily throwing it all out there on writers, but for the ones who already have the space, maybe you can try open the doors wider so that more stories like this will be accepted, while you yourself could also try being better in this way. But I don't know, take it or leave it. It's just a little bit of advice. What does it say when your plot can only evolve if your characters are unable to speak to each other? What is that? That is not representative of reality. And we need to do better. And we're not only speaking to each other face to face. And I think it's time that it started reflecting that. Back to my recommendations. So the first book I thought about was actually Everything by Nicola Yoon. And her second book, The Sun Is Also a Star, does have the use of technology in it, or it failing at points. But I find Everything did a really good job. I also want to mention Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. That was like a lot to say at once. So with Everything, the character Maddie is stuck at home because she's allergic to everything. So she can only be inside, and the only way she communicates with the outside world, which she eventually does, is via her laptop, via her computer, and then I believe a cell phone as well, but I'm not sure, I don't remember. For Simon versus the Homo Sapiens Agenda, the story basically kicks off because of something that went wrong with, and was it an email? But either way, he was using technology and they have access to it. You know what I mean? They're using it actively, and it feels organic to the story, to the characters, so it can be done. I want to touch on a character who their use of outdated technology, so to speak, read as genuine. That's Sierra Santiago in Shadow Shape Out by Daniel Jose Older. And now that's something that I tackled the author about, and it was legit just like, I believe when you originally started writing it, you know, flip phones were fine for people to have, even teenagers, and then that was just something that they didn't change when the book eventually came out, and that's fine. But it read the same, it read genuine as a part of her character. It wasn't her being a hipster or being quirky. She just wasn't really, she's not that type of person that like wants to be in touch with everybody all the time. But she also is able, like, she's around her friends, they are still in dialogue, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, if Sierra could have called this person and this or that wouldn't happen. So it doesn't read like a crutch. And I will say that having read the sequel that's gonna come out later this year, I believe in September, you know, there are, I don't want to spoil anything, but there are adjustments made in that area that read it when it comes out. I don't want to say anything more, but read it when it comes out, and it still reads genuine to the character. His adult series too deals with it, and it started from even Salsa Nocturnal, his collection of short stories. But like, there's a different reason for why it works, and that's all I ask. But I don't want everybody to find a justifiable reason and stick to that. Let's just write characters that don't use technology. How about we write characters that use it? Even if you find it annoying, even if you think that that's not how it should be, that somebody's constantly attached to their phone or constantly on social media, that's a reality for a lot of people. Write about them, even if it is to write that they're annoying. But it does affect interactions, it affects even how people look at themselves. And there are stories there to be told. So tell them. And for those in the industry listening, why am I doing this so much? But for those with the power to accept or reject these stories, I think it's way past time to branch out. Now I realize that I've stopped at 3, 4, or if we're just going on authors, I've just given you 3. I'm gonna be honest, I do love YA. I read a lot of YA, but for the past more than a year, that's not really been my genre. And so all the books that are coming to my mind are books that are gay erotica, and they don't have, and that counts as adult fiction for me. I don't know how technical they get with classifying books, but it's like a genre within a genre within another genre, and that's fine. But you know, if you want to go over there, you'll see it. In the romance genre, of course, it's there because he's rich and he's wealthy. He has access to all these things, and they've somehow made the extreme work. Marky, I find it very tropey in a lot of ways, but at least it's not absent, and that is my issue. How can we include this as something that's real and include it well? You know, write about people like me who find it infuriating, who the minute I take up my phone and it freezes on an app, I'm just like, okay, I'm over it. But then, you know, you guys know me because of this. You guys know me right now. You're watching me via technology. I use it a lot nonetheless. So it's very varied, and I feel like it's about time we stop being lazy about it. Anyways, that's all I have to say. I don't know if I mentioned it, but this is being filmed on the DSLR. I don't know how much better the quality will be because it's dark out. I have to work on doing these things in the day. So something really fun just happened. Camera shut off, so it probably looks different. And I was there waiting. It shut off because the battery overheated. And I was like, oh, this is fun. This is great. This is timely. And I forgot that I bought whole extra battery and charger. So yeah, you know, gift that keeps on giving. You know, that's another way in which technology fails me, but it's an opportunity to exercise patience. Feel free to leave any book suggestions where the characters are using technology and it's really well done and it seems natural and it's a really good story overall. At this point, I'm being trolled, and it's just the gift that keeps on giving because then the camera ran out of, the memory card ran out of space. And I have to end it right here, you guys. I have to end the video right here for my sake, for all our sakes. So, you know, I'm just saying, there are ways in which we can make this work. There are also ways in which everything is gonna mock me in this hard and trying time. You guys see, if you feel my pain, and even if you don't, hit that thumbs up and share this all over the place. And I'll see you. I'll see you tomorrow, or the day after that, or something. I'm just really realizing that I probably was out of focus, or my head was cut off in the previous video, and probably even this one as well. So that's fine. It's fun. Bye, nice maniacs. You know what to do. Hit it. Tap it. No. Okay. No. Am I talking to? Anyway, I have to drink some more. My mouth is doing the